CNN-FM, the financial network.
Turning your hobby into a big business, how Mike Wolfe has powered his childhood dream into a toy train empire. Our cover story. For many entrepreneurs, their hobby is their business. For Mike Wolfe, his business is a hobby, model trains. And by listening to himself and other train buffs, Wolfe has built up a major player in the industry. Donald Vandermark takes a look at the power behind M.T.H. trains.
Liquid smoke. A distant whistle. The roar of the rails. A miniature world with high-powered model engines chugging around a landscape track. For Mike Wolfe's customers, even if the trains are small, their childhood dreams are all grown up, and they're willing to spend $250 million a year. So Mike Wolfe is both blessed and cursed with customers who don't just like or even need his products, they love them.
I think it's the best engine yet you've made. I wish the coaches could come in either aluminum or plastic.
You really need to have a long-term appreciation for the trains and understand these consumers because they're very passionate about this.
Responding precisely to that passion has brought Mike Wolfe high-speed success. M.T.H., which stands for Mike's Train House, has been manufacturing model trains under his own label for only 5 years. And already, Wolfe has built a $50 million toy train empire. Wolfe's secret, keeping his ear to the ground.
Mike has his finger on the pulse of the hobby. He has a real sense of what the hobbyists need. He sees a void in the marketplace for a particular product and is able to produce a product in a real timely fashion.
The things you've been asking for, we're trying to make them all.
At events like this one in York, Pennsylvania, Wolfe talks to, and more important, he listens to rail fans.
The Norfolk and Western, to my knowledge, never had ribbed sides on it. They had the smooth sides.
In the toy train market, they have become a lot more educated. Now we have people going and buying real train books, and we call them rivet counters. They count the rivets on the trains, and if we missed a rivet, they'll let us know. They get on the internet and search for the colors of the real trains, the where they ran, what routes they ran. They're much more train enthusiasts versus toy enthusiasts. They've gotten to understand what the scale proportions are and what that engine actually, where it ran, what years it ran. So when we put out a catalog in the decorations or we're missing a stripe, they'll notify us and let us know that that stripe's missing.
Bringing exacting detail, high-tech tooling, and rich colors to the process, Wolfe has reproduced trains from a bygone era. Engines and cars that have never been replicated on a small scale.
Mike is really like bringing competition in and forcing people to improve their products, to lower their prices. He's really kind of stirring up the mix.
His detail work on the cars and the engines, the castings are just superior to anything else I've ever seen.
We may be here 20 years from now and saying this was the golden era.
Certainly golden for Wolfe, who keeps his profit margins fat and prices steady by producing less than what dealers order. Minimizing risk, he makes only what customers request. One problem, though, while closely tracking customer demands is a great short-term strategy, it prevents him from planning long-term.
What's your 5-year plan I'm asking? I don't even know what my full 1-year plan is. It's not that I'm just making it up as I go, but I'm doing what my customers are asking for as they're asking for it.
That strategy has worked. M.T.H. has grabbed 50% of the popular O-gauge train market, nearly neck and neck with Lionel, a company that has dominated the business for close to a century. One reason Wolfe is so successful is he knows Lionel's business. He worked for them for 5 years. Frustrated with what he considered a limited product line, Wolfe began selling his own M.T.H. trains. After 4 years of new and growing competition, Lionel management says 1997 was still their best year to date. Though they won't comment directly on M.T.H., ironically, the race may be energizing the model train market.
If a competitor is making a similar product, we have to be cheaper, we have to be more detailed, we have to have a better product. So I'll lower prices and I'll make sometimes 10% margin, and there's other products that we make 300% margin.
Like most entrepreneurs, Mike Wolfe is a risk taker, but in this case, so was his dad. Paul Wolfe lent his entire retirement savings to his son when Mike was starting out and needed big bucks for the tooling to make the first trains. Hedging his bets, Wolfe then placed an ad asking for prepayment for trains he had yet to produce.
Lo and behold, people sent in the money, then I built the trains, and I ended up with nothing at the end, but I had the tooling, and I got into the business. And it was a big risk for him, and I still could never, he's my father, but I still could never thank him enough.
For Entrepreneurs Only, I'm Donald Vandermark, CNN Financial News.
This is the M.T.H. Premier Line, the ultimate in O-gauge trains. The M.T.H. Premier lineup includes some of the finest quarter-inch scale models to ever run on an O-gauge railroad. The M.T.H. Premier Line combines the best of both O-gauge worlds. Premier Line locomotives have the size and fine detail of a true O-scale model, yet they operate on 3-rail track. And because of its scale size, M.T.H. Premier Line locomotives perform even better than they look. Built from precision die-cast and ABS plastic components, our Premier Line products represent millions of dollars invested in the dies and other tooling required to produce these models. Every piece of that tooling has been made with but one idea in mind: to bring you the finest 3-rail O-gauge models available anywhere. We use our modular chassis design on all Premier Line locomotives. This unique chassis design allows us to pack a lot of special features into these locomotives. Premier Line locomotives all have the M.T.H. Proto-Sound system installed, and the Proto-Smoke units make these engines look startlingly real. With the Premier Line Proto-Smoke system, you can make a lot of smoke using safe, non-toxic M.T.H. Proto-Smoke fluid. And if you don't want the smoke on, you can easily turn it off with a small switch under the locomotive. Another feature that sets our Premier Line locomotives apart is the sophisticated lighting systems we have installed in them. In Premier Line diesels, directional headlights always light the railroad ahead in the direction of movement, just like the real thing. You'll also find lighted number boards, flashing Mars lights, and operating ditch lights on the modern diesels. Scale size, lots of detail, powerful flywheel-equipped motors, smooth performance, lighting systems. Sounds like we've covered all the bases except for one big question. How well do M.T.H. Premier Line locomotives handle a big train? If they're built to scale size, they ought to be able to pull a scale size train, right? How does over 50 cars grab you? Here's our Premier Line Union Pacific Big Boy, a model of the longest and one of the most powerful steam locomotives ever built. Behind the drawbar of that massive tender are 52 cars of O-gauge manifest freight. Don't believe it? Just watch. Every car in this train is an M.T.H. Premier Line freight car. No matter what kind of freight cars you enjoy running in your trains, tank cars, box cars, reefers, hoppers, gondolas, flat cars, you name it, we've got it. Our selection is so big that you could make up all your trains with M.T.H. Premier Line freight cars. Our locomotives can pull a huge train like this because we use powerful, high-torque can motors with flywheels in all Premier Line locomotives. These motors deliver pulling power to all the drive wheels, and several of those wheels have special traction tires. Those tires increase the locomotive's pulling power to the point where handling a long, heavy train like this is easy. There you are, a 52-car train pulled by one M.T.H. Premier Line steam locomotive. This is not trick photography, and we did nothing special to the cars or the locomotive. They're all right out of the box. In other words, if you've got the room to pull 52 cars, you can do this too. But don't think that the big boy is the only M.T.H. engine that can do this. Here's our Premier Line Union Pacific Veranda turbine, and it's also on the point of a 52-car train. In the interest of time, we're not going to watch the whole train go by, but there are 52 cars in this train. Obviously, the big veranda locomotive is having no problem pulling this heavy train. Talk about pulling power. M.T.H. Premier Line locomotives have it. Lots of it. In fact, these locomotives will actually pull many more cars than this. We just didn't have room for any more cars on the layouts where these scenes were shot. M.T.H. Premier Line locomotives are some of the best in the business. But locomotives alone won't get the job done. You've got to have freight and passenger cars to make your railroad run. M.T.H. Premier Line rolling stock matches the quality and scale size of our locomotives. We've got boxcars, tank cars, both big and small, coal hoppers, reefers, and even modern double stacks. We've got every kind of car you need to handle the freight for every customer on your model railroad. All Premier Line cars feature fully sprung die-cast trucks to help the cars ride smoothly over rough track. They also feature operating metal couplers, no plastic here, with fast angle wheels and metal axles. The ABS plastic bodies are just loaded with detail, even on the underbody. They feature separate brake wheels, and many of the cars have realistic interiors, such as the Premier Line hoppers. Coal loads are available for the hoppers. There are junk loads for the gondolas, and coil loads for the coil cars. For the tail end of your trains, you can choose from a wide selection of beautiful cabooses, and we probably have one painted and lettered for your favorite railroad. Many of our Premier Line cars have stamped metal floors, and our tank cars have metal handrails. Completing the package, all Premier Line freight cars have bright, clean, and crisp graphics with legible reporting marks and colorful railroad logos. When you make up your passenger trains with our Premier Line passenger cars, you'll be running some of the finest passenger trains ever to roll on an O-gauge model railroad. Whether it's a modern train like our Amtrak Caltrain set, or the fabulous Santa Fe El Capitan, the romance of fast passenger trains can come alive on your railroad with any of our Premier Line passenger sets. Just like our freight rolling stock, our passenger cars feature beautifully detailed die-cast trucks with operating couplers, with fast angle wheels and metal axles. The ABS plastic car bodies are just loaded with fine details, complete with underbody detail, interior car detail, and end-of-car diaphragms on all cars. Last but not least, our Premier Line passenger cars are accurately painted and lettered for your favorite railroad with clear, colorful graphics. M.T.H. electric trains, Premier Line locomotives, and rolling stock are the ultimate in O-gauge railroading. No matter what your particular interest, you'll find something you like in our huge product line of diesel locomotives, steam locomotives, freight cars, and beautiful passenger cars. The M.T.H. Premier Line, the top of the line in O-gauge model trains. You'll find them at your nearest M.T.H. dealer. The M.T.H. Rail King line is a low-cost alternative that both newcomers to the hobby and modelers on a tight budget will love. These are not cheap plastic toys. They are well-built models with many die-cast components. The boilers of these Rail King steam engines have details in them that rival many scale models. And these diesel locomotive truck side frames on our Rail King F3s are just loaded with fine detail. The ABS plastic bodies on our Rail King diesels have great-looking cast-in details that give them a very realistic look. And check out the wonderful detail on this Rail King Union Pacific 49er. However, while looks are important, a good model has to run well too, and this is where our products really shine. We use a design we call MCD, Modular Chassis Design, in all our model trains. This design allows us to pack a lot of features into a small space. The M.T.H. Proto-Sound system, reversing unit, and other options, such as our Proto-Smoke units, can all be installed even in a small locomotive. We use the best motors available, and it shows in the smooth, powerful performance of our locomotives. Whether you like to wheel them fast, highballing a passenger train on the main line, or more slowly on a heavy freight train, M.T.H. Rail King locomotives will always be ready to give you a smooth, powerful ride. Good looks and smooth performance are nice to have, but the real test of any good locomotive is how well does it pull. Your model railroad's operating department will absolutely fall in love with these locomotives because even though our Rail King line is slightly smaller than full O-scale size, they are strong pullers. Here's our Rail King Union Pacific Big Boy with 40 cars behind the drawbar. This powerful 4884 handles this long, heavy train with ease. M.T.H. Rail King locomotives are able to pull a big train like this because we use powerful, smooth-running can motors with flywheels in most of our Rail King locomotives. Plus, there are traction tires on several of the drive wheels that allow these locomotives to really dig in and pull hard. "40 cars? No problem. How's that for pulling power? And how's this for smoke? Here's our M.T.H. Proto-Smoke system at work in the Rail King New York Central Hudson, number 5405. You can get a lot of smoke out of our Proto-Smoke system using safe, non-toxic M.T.H. Proto-Smoke fluid. And if you don't want the smoke on, you can easily turn it off with a small switch under the locomotive. Powerful, smooth-running locomotives are important for any model railroad. But you've also got to have a big selection of rolling stock to make up your trains. M.T.H. makes a wide variety of Rail King freight cars for you to put behind your locomotives. Standard box cars, gondolas, hoppers, and tanks are the staples of any fleet of freight cars. But we also make a few more unique cars for your trains. Like this flat car with a road grader, or this flat car with a load of Chevy Corvettes. This is our Rail King Chessie crane car. And this is our beautiful New York Central Woodside caboose. Here's our new auto carrier car. And this is one of the most unique cars we've ever made, a rotary snowplow. There's a huge variety of Rail King rolling stock to choose from, and just like our locomotives, they are highly detailed and carefully manufactured. On the box cars, the doors will slide open, and the brake wheels are separate pieces for added realism. And we also make loads for many of our open-top cars, like these junk loads for the gods. Many of the cars are supported by sturdy, stamped metal floors. And all of our tank cars and cabooses have metal handrails. Completing the package are bright paint colors with clear, clean, and detailed graphics. What about cabooses for those long freight trains? We've got a tremendous selection here, too. For example, this beautiful Santa Fe bay window caboose will look great on the end of the train pulled by the Santa Fe SD90. Okay, we've got our Rail King freight trains made up and ready to roll. Now, what about the passenger trains? M.T.H. Rail King passenger cars are available in a huge variety of styles and road names. The same care and attention to detail that you saw in our freight car line carries over into our passenger car line, too. Beautifully detailed die-cast trucks with operating couplers. Highly detailed ABS plastic bodies with car interiors. Neatly modeled underbody detail. End-of-car diaphragms. Overhead lighting. And detailed graphics combined to make M.T.H. Rail King passenger cars some of the finest available today. The M.T.H. Electric Trains Rail King line is just the ticket if you prefer smaller 027 size trains, or if you're a modeler on a tight budget. But don't let the smaller size and small price tags fool you. because M.T.H. Rail King products are top performers that will give you many years of enjoyment. See them in person at your nearest M.T.H. dealer today.
Until now, M.T.H. Rail King products have been available with electronically synthesized bells and whistles, which were state-of-the-art in low-cost O-gauge sound systems. But now they have been replaced by our new Loco-Sound system, which provides full locomotive sound effects, including bells, horns, whistles, chuffing, or diesel roar. Loco-Sound is available in most train sets and Rail King products. And to complement Loco-Sound, M.T.H. now offers a wireless infrared remote control, which is included in most train sets and is also sold separately. This remote provides control of all primary locomotive sound and functions, including bells, horns, whistles, locomotive speed, and direction. And best of all, it's compatible with most manufacturers' locomotives and transformers. But we're just getting started because there's a lot more. What is Proto-Sound 2.0? It's not just a sound system upgrade, it's a technological leap forward in sound quality and digital train control. Designed by M.T.H.'s own research and development team, the features in Proto-Sound 2.0 are unmatched by any other model railroading manufacturer. Operation starts right out of the box with no additional equipment or wiring needed for basic conventional operation. Engines equipped with Proto-Sound 2.0 are perfectly compatible with engines equipped with other sound systems or locomotives without sound. Proto-Sound 2.0 utilizes a much higher digital sampling rate than the original Proto-Sound system, and it has a greater dynamic range than any of our competitors. In plain English, this means higher highs, lower lows, and sound quality rail fans will immediately recognize as clearly superior to anything they have heard before. Instead of sound quality like this, M.T.H. owners will enjoy sound quality like this. But improved sound quality is just the beginning of this revolutionary product story. Every Proto-Sound 2.0 equipped locomotive features new and improved proto effects, including cab chatter, extended locomotive startup and shutdown, all new passenger station sounds and freight yard sounds, squeaking brakes and coupler release sounds, coupler slack sounds, wheel clickety-clack sounds, train wreck sounds, and dozens of randomly created voices. You simply hook up any compatible transformer and begin experiencing the digital world of model railroading in ways unmatched and unimagined. The new M.T.H. Proto-Sound 2.0 also provides more control over locomotive sounds because the volume of the different sounds can be adjusted independently. Proto-Sound 2.0 has one-touch sound muting, which allows the trains to keep running but mutes the sound in every Proto-Sound 2.0 equipped locomotive on the railroad. Proto-Sound 2.0 also includes the new M.T.H. designed Digital Command System, or DCS. This is a digital control system that allows operator command of multiple engines, tracks, switches, and accessories all at one time with a single remote. When in digital command system mode, a constant voltage level is applied to a layout or track block. With every accessory or locomotive that's on the loop DCS ready, you'll be able to individually control each engine or accessory with the touch of a button on the system's remote. The separately sold digital command system remote features a 4-line LCD screen and 32 push buttons for control over basic locomotive functions, including whistle or horn activation, bell ringing, speed control, direction control, and coupler operation. It also provides quick and easy access to all the exciting new features of Proto-Sound 2.0, such as Doppler sound, smoke output levels, and Proto-Cast. You will be able to use the digital command system remote control to program every DCS-equipped locomotive. And it will remember your favorite operating settings, including volume levels, assignment of locomotive addresses and names, lighting, smoke output, and dozens more. Operation of a DCS-equipped engine has never been more realistic. When operating in command mode, you will actually be able to control the speed of your locomotives in 1 scale mile-per-hour increments.
Dial up a faster speed on the remote, and the locomotive will move at that speed. And with the new Proto-Speed Control working, that locomotive will continue to run at that speed, uphill, downhill, around curves, everywhere. DCS can record up to 30 minutes of your commands and store them for playback later. You can create an automated demo of your railroad and play it back with the touch of a button. Here's another feature of the M.T.H. DCS system that is so new, it's never been seen before on any model locomotive. Every scale mile of operation of a DCS-equipped locomotive is stored by an electronic odometer. This allows you to have a complete record of the actual scale miles the train has traveled. DCS-equipped locomotives can suggest that it's time for service, lubrication, and cleaning at specific mileage intervals. And for those who are collectors, it's a great way to confirm how many miles that out-of-the-box locomotive really has on it. The programmable digital command system remote control handheld with LCD screen is the most sophisticated yet easy-to-use remote on the O-gauge market. The remote features a 4-line LCD screen, a soft-touch keypad, 8 user-programmable buttons, 24 program buttons, built-in and customizable locomotive IDs, built-in accessory and switch controls, and much more. And when you place a DCS-ready locomotive on the track, the remote instantly knows the locomotive by its name. It has independent locomotive control and will operate multiple locomotives on the same track at the same time. You can assign locomotive IDs, turn engines on and off, or run different engines at different speeds on the same track. Our new locomotive speed control lets you run your locomotives as slow as 1 scale mile per hour and maintains the set speed up and down grades. DCS allows you to control the smoke output of the locomotive from the remote, or you can turn off the smoke completely. DCS allows independent control of all locomotive lighting. Turn on the marker lights, headlights, ditch lights, cab lights, and any other lights your locomotive may be equipped with, all independently. And all locomotive lighting is constant voltage lighting, so the lights stay at the same brilliance even if the track voltage changes. You can also use the DCS to control accessories. Simply attach the digital command system accessory interface unit to the track interface unit and control that accessory through the digital command system remote control. You can customize your DCS-equipped Proto-Sound 2.0 locomotive with downloadable sounds. Change the bells, whistles, or proto-effect sounds for a unique personalized locomotive. Diesel horns, steam whistles, passenger station sounds, freight yard sounds, and other sounds will be available for download from our website. So if you don't like the whistle on your Proto-Sound 2.0 equipped locomotive, download a new one or have your dealer download and install it for you. A single cable between your computer and the track interface unit is all that's required to upload the new sounds from the computer into the locomotive. And finally, the new M.T.H. DCS incorporates a diagnostic memory feature, which stores the locomotive's build date, scale miles traveled, maintenance history, and locomotive serial number. It's a perfect way to authenticate an engine's history, manage its maintenance, and verify its warranty status. The all-new M.T.H. digital command system with Proto-Sound 2.0 brings a whole new world of O-gauge fun and fascination to your customers. It's easy to operate, and it has more features than any other digital command system on the market today. The new M.T.H. digital command system is yet another example of our commitment to providing everything you need to have an exciting, realistic, and complete model railroad that will bring you hours of fun and enjoyment. At M.T.H., we build an enormous variety of locomotives, freight and passenger cars, maintenance of way equipment, buildings, and accessories. It's all part of our philosophy to constantly upgrade our products to give you the best technology available in model railroading.
Another unique sound feature in Proto-Sound 2.0 is the Doppler effect. Originally discovered by the Austrian mathematician and physicist Christian Doppler, the Doppler effect represents a change in pitch that results from a shift in the frequency of the sound waves emitted by a moving sound source. You've all heard the effect at some time or another. It sounds like this. Now an operator can experience this same effect on an M.T.H. model railroad with M.T.H. Proto-Sound 2.0. Get down close to the track, then watch and listen as the train roars past. You'll hear the unmistakable sound of the Doppler effect as the train passes by, just like you would if you were standing trackside. And it all happens with the simple push of a button. Even though the Doppler effect is an exciting new feature, we haven't forgotten about the sounds our trains make when they're standing still.
Okay, set them up. Thank you.
You no longer have to listen to the same old canned cab chatter over and over again. With Proto-Sound 2.0, record your own cab chatter using names and places on your own layout. Proto-Sound 2.0's Proto-Dispatch takes Proto-Sound's cab chatter one step further toward reality. Now, instead of listening to pre-recorded cab chatter messages that come standard in every Proto-Sound 2.0 equipped locomotive, you can actually interact with your train by broadcasting your own voice through the locomotive speaker. A microphone is built into the DCS remote control. Just press the mic button and speak into the microphone to create your own personalized cab chatter messages.
Amtrak Cardinal ready to depart Zanesville for Charlestown, Martinsburg, Wheeling and all points west. All aboard.
But what if you can't always handle the sound duties like a live announcer? That's where another new feature we call Proto-Cast comes in. This is the most exciting new addition to the Proto-Sound system. By using the track interface unit and any external audio source like a tape deck or CD player, you can broadcast your favorite railroad sounds, songs, or stories through the locomotive speaker. Retailers can even use it in a store layout to play announcements or advertise today's specials. Imagine using Proto-Cast to play a favorite railroad song through your train, or play a children's train story on tape, like The Little Engine That Could. You could also play your own favorite prototype recordings as you run your trains, or you can play holiday music around the Christmas tree, all the while the train runs around the layout, making some very unique sounds. No matter how you use it, you'll have great fun with this. And probably the most unique feature of Proto-Sound 2.0 is our new Proto-Speed Control. Proto-Speed Control is a revolutionary feature that utilizes microprocessor monitoring of the locomotive's motor speed and continuously makes adjustments to the motor to maintain the locomotive's speed, just like a real engineer does when traveling over variable terrain. A Proto-Sound 2.0 equipped locomotive will maintain an almost constant speed when climbing grades and rounding curves. Even when faced with a sudden increase in load, Proto-Speed Control holds the speed constant, and it does this without expensive special motors. Other locomotives without this type of speed control can run away down hills, reaching potentially dangerous speeds. While our Proto-Sound 2.0 equipped locomotives maintain a steady speed, uphill and down. And there's one other important performance consideration. Our locomotives can also go back up the hills without problems, unlike some of our more expensive competition. If an operator wants to doublehead a new Proto-Sound 2.0 locomotive with an older piece of motive power, the Proto-Speed feature can be disabled with a simple keystroke. When Proto-Speed is disabled, a Proto-Sound 2.0 equipped locomotive will operate just like any other M.T.H. steam or diesel locomotive.
And here's the best news yet. With our new digital command system, command control compatibility problems become a thing of the past. That's because the M.T.H. digital command system will control Lionel's TrainMaster command system. A simple single cable hookup between the DCS and TrainMaster is all that's needed. Instead of using the Cab 1 remote, you can run your Lionel TrainMaster command locomotives with our new DCS remote, with complete control of all the locomotive's features. If you already have an investment in TrainMaster products, you won't lose it. You'll actually add to it by upgrading to our new DCS system. You'll have all the features of the old TrainMaster system available, plus all the new features of our DCS. Now that's a win-win situation if there ever was one.